Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another What Do I Think episode right here. And here I'm just going to talk about Apple in general. I feel like recently they've been going through a lot of changes ever since Steve Jobs passed away back in 2011 when the iPhone 4S was announced. And why am I saying that? Well, here's because. Wow, I totally said that wrong. I meant to say, here's why. Because ever since Steve Jobs died, no, not even the technology that Apple's producing is changing, but just Apple in general, like the staff they have over there. Tim Cook became CEO, which that wasn't a surprise because out of everyone else, Tim Cook didn't know what was going on in Apple. He got a pretty good idea about it, and then got the full idea ever since he became CEO. And next thing you know, there are like some of the staff that aren't really working well together, and then next thing you know, they just step down on their foot and left Apple, such as Scott Forstall, for example. But at the same time, Scott Forstall, it happened to be as if not that many people really liked him that much because most of the time he was on his own and he pretty much just did most of the things by himself, and he never cooperated with anybody. And sometimes people call him the little Steve Jobs. And Johnny Ive and Scott Forstall can't be in the same room at the same time to have a meeting, except when Tim Cook tells them to have a meeting together. I mean, on the show floor, it may seem like Scott Forstall is a nice guy, and it looks as if he cooperates very well, but behind backstage, it's a complete different story. So don't believe what your eye sees at first sight. You guys know what I'm talking about? Which is why, everybody over there has their own different viewpoints. And because that Johnny Ive is going to redesign iOS 7, if you guys haven't seen my recent video about that, I made a video saying my thoughts about iOS 7 having a complete makeover. And it looks like the devices we use, the iOS devices in this case, these, it's going to change. Why is that? Because now we got a new iOS engineer, or whatever you guys want to call it, that's going to remake the whole iOS. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. Maybe they might keep iOS the way it is, but just put some changes onto it, maybe more customization or something. But at the same time, it looks like Apple's going to be different. Because, let's say if they were to redesign iOS, that's great. Now, what are they going to do for OS 10? That's a good question right there. And what about for the next generation products that they're going to redesign? So far, the designs, they are redesigning a little bit, but keeping it similar, such as like the iPhone 5 is similar to the iPhone 4 and the 4S, except it has an aluminum design, and it's thinner, but it still has that block design. It didn't have that curve effect like the iPhone 3G, 3GS, or maybe they could have tried to combine both. Do you guys see my point right here? Apple has really changed over the years since Steve Jobs died. And here we are in 2013. Some of the staff has stepped down, and some of the staff that have changed their positions to fill in those positions for those who stepped down. And it looks like some of them didn't get along, as I said, Scott Forstall. But even, I guess, Tim Cook didn't really get along with Scott Forstall at all. Or maybe it was reversed, because when everybody was complaining about iOS 6 maps, Tim Cook wrote out an apology letter. Now, if you guys read the apology letter, he signed it. Now, supposed to be that Scott Forstall signed the letter, but he refused to sign it because he didn't believe in the apology and just thought, okay, this can be just fixed with updates. And Tim Cook's like, no, you really destroyed some of our fans. Like, some of our fans are really disappointed in us, and therefore you have to sign it. Scott Forstall said, no, I'm not going to sign this thing. And then Tim Cook's like, well, if you're not going to sign it, I'm going to sign it. In the meantime, you hit the road. So he pretty much just thought that Scott Forstall had to go. And then, yeah, that's about it. So it looks like Apple's team may be falling apart at the same time. But at the same time, maybe it's not falling apart. Because if iOS does get better and better, with a complete redesign, then possibly everyone's going to be happy, or they're going to be upset because maybe some of them like the design of iOS right now. But you know what? With a whole group of teammates working together, I think they'll get along very well. Now, what do you guys think about this? Do you think that Apple has really changed since Steve Jobs died? And do you think they're getting worse, or do you think they're getting better? I'd like to see your comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.